My experience with ego, it's kind of funny because literally this week, the post before this one, I was speaking on the importance of ego. And now I'm blessed with the opportunity to speak on my own experience. Because the reason that I made that video, guys, is every video that I speak on at all, God directly puts in my brain, okay, this, and it gets written down, and then that's what I speak on. Every single one. And I always pray to God to communicate whatever needs to be said and to reach whoever needs to hear the messages. So even sometimes I'm like, okay, what is this, right? However, God is all-knowing, and God always does it in that way for those particular reasons. Maybe you see this a year from now, but you needed to see this today, whereas this other person sees it today when it comes out because they needed to see it today. Whatever it may be, I'm blessed to be able to even express my own experiences. So that's what we're going to do, guys. So, yeah. Guys, ego. Man, ego is a tool, as I said. However, ego can be very destructive. And the majority of cases that we see in the world with people of high power or people being in high positions and losing those positions is due to ego. Oh, in the sports world, let's say this team didn't succeed, as we saw with Michael Jackson, right? I mean, Michael Jordan, pardon. What do we see? The coach and the GM. There was an ego thing. No, it's me, it's not the coach, right? And then that disbanded the team. And then, I mean, we see it in the professional worlds all of the time. No, I wanted to be the star, right? I want to do this, as we see with like Beyonce, for example, and her crew. I mean, so many countless times with Microsoft, right? With Apple. These are just things that occur, man. This is the nature of the game, right? And all of those examples are purely secular world things. It's just even in the case of the one and only Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, and hopefully yours. He was betrayed, and ego was involved in this matter, guys, with Judas Iscariot. It's a tale as old as time, and if it could happen to Jesus, right, that ego could be that present, I mean, it could happen to any one of us. So in my case, guys, the way that I grew up was I was disciplined very hard and vehemently. And it wasn't really until even recently where I understood it, right? That vision that God put in my mind. And I understood that, okay, that's a vision that could be seen as prestigious or difficult. And then it made sense as to why my upbringing was what could be seen as difficult or very out of the ordinary. And so I was brought up in a way where whatever I did wasn't good enough in terms of, not that my parents would directly say that, but it was more of, okay, I'm the best player in basketball, but I wouldn't have known that, right? I'm not going to tell you it's enough. You still need to be better. So it was kind of this expected thing. And so that also happened in my baseball career. That happened in football. And every sport that I did, that happened in my schooling. That happened when I transitioned from writing with my right hand to my left hand, just preparing for what I saw at the time was the inevitable reality of me being an NBA and being the star, and I started to train myself to write with my left hand. Because that's the way that it works. Everything that happens in your life ultimately does have a reason behind it, and all of it can be used to your benefit if you are a believer in God and Jesus Christ. And ultimately, the thing is, even if no one's telling you, let's say from the people closest to you, but the outside world always sees. And so I would receive so much validation from the outside world. In my sporting domains, I mean, a lot from teams, from players. When it came to romance and romantic endeavors, a lot of validation there. In terms of even my schooling, grades and all this, a lot of validation there. And so as a young kid, and I wasn't particularly Christ-centered, my mother was Catholic and is Catholic, and my father was Baptist, and I believe is currently in a transition of recentering himself and reconnecting. The thing was, especially in Philadelphia, which is especially secularized, and on the northeastern parts of the U.S., which tend to be, I mean, just the antithesis to the belief of God. And I'm in those spots, and I'm like, man, the amount of ego that I felt, right? There was this ego within me, like, okay, oh, I'm the best, oh, this. And I have to be honest, I'm very grateful that, at least from what I was aware of, right, I never displayed it towards the people that I loved and close to me, right? But I definitely noticed that it was something that I would look at, and I would be like, man, oh, I'm better than you at basketball. Oh, I get more girls than you. Oh, I'm a better student than you. Oh, I look better than you. There's a lot of vain, a lot of things that were of the vain nature for me, especially growing up. And I look back on it, man, and that was kind of the story of my childhood. And then my early teenage years, it was similar because, I'm still being trained in this way. And I had injuries now, so I couldn't really play basketball. So then it was like, oh man, what's going to happen to my ego? And I remember having these strenuous injuries, a lot of them, and not being able to really do anything, just being in bed. And I mean, I couldn't even get my own food. And it's funny because I look at it now and I really see it. But I just remember, for example, like being injured in my bed, and I'm like, okay, hey, I can't get my stuff, to get food and all of this on the other floors. And I remember my dad, maybe he did it one time, but then he was like, hey, I'm not going to help you. You have to get it yourself. And sure, I guess the way that he said it to me in the time was a bit strong. But in reality, I see that all of this stuff was really building me and curating me. And I mean, all of these things really, I understood that when you do difficult things, you build inner security and you build confidence. And I didn't go out of my way to get confidence. Actually, I kind of tried to do the opposite because I felt that I didn't want to get big-headed. And I remember I had changed schools from engineering and science in Philadelphia to Lower Merion High School in Ardmore, Pennsylvania. And I remember this was a conscious decision that I made. At my previous school and just my whole schooling career, I had always been the popular kid, or the kid that was intertwined with everyone and all the dynamics with the teachers and everything, right? Sports and the lady life, as guys say, with the guys, everything. And I said, no, I don't really want that. So I did the opposite. I tried my absolute best to be the quiet kid, and I put myself in a corner because I wanted to see what's the experience. And when I did that, I saw, okay, this is kind of nice. The only thing was, the reason that ultimately I see that's not me fully is because I did have to temper down a bit of my own true personality. And this was also just due to me at the time being sad, right? I'm not able to play basketball. I'm a young guy. That's my dream. And that was also a dream that was becoming reality. It wasn't something as if, oh, this is what I wish to do. It was, but it was more of becoming an eventual reality that ultimately didn't happen for a reason. And I thank God for that because, sure, I could have been a great basketball player, but in reality, the purpose and vision that he's put in my mind, I'm way better suited at that. And that fulfills me way more. And I say all of that to say all of these things, right, that you do, that you build strength, that you build character. And naturally, we have internalized ego. And I'm so happy, actually, that a viewer brought that term to my attention. The difference between individualized ego and, let's say, personalized ego. Projected ego, that was the term. And internalized ego is healthy because that will keep you alive. That will keep you in the pursuit of fulfilling your God-given mission. But projected ego, guys, that's something that will literally destroy all of your relationships. You cannot have relationships with ego at all with the people close to you, man. I bring this example up because it's important. I had a family member and, there was a, let's say, disagreement that occurred. And due to that, there was a temporary falling out. And I remember the basis of that falling out was ego-based because it was the person said they did not really want to reconcile fully due to their pride not allowing them to. And I remember that, not because they are a bad individual, they're an excellent person, but it's rather, that's ego, because pride disguises itself as ego, guys. And ego is disguised as pride in a lot of instances. And I know myself, also in these aftermaths, I remember me, I definitely displayed ego as well that I wasn't even aware of, but it's this thing of, oh no, I'm better than that person, right? I'm better than this. And how could this happen to me, right? How could this person say this thing to me? How could this person treat me like this? For me, it was always that I noticed. It was this like ego mixed with contempt. And ultimately, I'm grateful that that was something that I lived more in my mind, right, in that experience that I had. But I never really lived in the real world. I didn't live that with others in the way of other people telling me that, oh, you're better than me. But I definitely saw myself going down that path. I mean, 100% sure. That's a reality that could have occurred if I hadn't met Christ. And if I hadn't been grounded, man. Because although I was never this rah-rah like guy just pointing people out and their flaws and saying that I'm better than them, gratefully I can say that. I definitely at times growing up felt different, and due to not understanding things, right, you were a kid and I didn't have any validation, so I relied on it. And it suited me, guys. The reality is the ego that I lived on that probably for, a good decade of my life, just trying to survive every day. And I needed that ego. I needed to remind myself, no, and God would put that vision in my mind. It was as if God is observing this and seeing this. And I would have moments, right, where I go too much into ego, but never like an ego to the extent where I'm flat out saying I'm better than you. No, never. Not to someone. Maybe I felt that, right, at a domain, but never better as a human being. And I'm really trying to, guys, orate this the best way that I can, because, you know what I mean, this is a tender topic, because I want to be as honest as possible. And some of these things, right, I'm recounting on as we speak, and I'm like, wow, I even reflect on as we're speaking right now. It's something definitely that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the experience, right? But looking back on it, I'm extremely grateful to God that he got in my life exactly when he did, because I mean, it would have been easy for me to really fall into ego, but in a dramatic way. And because ego's expressed, I mean, even in small things, like, let's say this person is interested in you, and just for ego's sake, I will play with the hearts of ladies, right? Or like get all the validation I can receive on Instagram or from people to kind of make myself feel better. And that's very egotistical. And that was my experience. And so through all of that, guys, through all of this, right, I came out and I observed it. And look, the reality is, guys, you're going to have moments where ego is going to be expressed. It will happen. It's just, it's knowing that, right, and understanding that that's not the ideal. That's not how it's meant to be. It has its place, but don't use it in your relationships with people, because then you will deteriorate those relationships. And if you're consumed with ego, you're consumed with Satan, because that is how Satan will get to you, guys. All of these people you see, the most famous people in the world that have all the money you could possibly fathom, the majority of them, guys, are ego driven. Even if they don't consciously say it, but it's a subconscious thing. Because you're an idol now. And how is it possible, if you're not with God, to not be consumed by the fact that other people are consumed by you? We're all humans, guys. Sure, we're different, right? Maybe I'm different in a scientific and thinking way of orientation when it comes to rockets versus myself and my specialties, right? But we're the same in certain things. So when it comes to that, if you're a human and you're receiving all this praise, everyone wants to be you, every partner, lady wants to be with you, it is impossible, if you're not with Christ, to not be somewhat consumed or infatuated within yourself and ego being presented to itself. It's not possible to not, let's say, experience that. It's varying extents, right? But the reason that I say that, guys, is that because ultimately that's going to be self-destructive. You're going to lose things in your life. You're going to pay the cost. Satan is going to be near you. Because when you're infatuated with yourself, you're not infatuated with God. And that is more important than any connection to yourself, because you also have to understand that you are nothing without God, and I am nothing without God. You and I are 100% the same. I may be better in this thing, and you may be better in that thing, but we are equals in the world, and none of us could be here if God wasn't guiding us. So it's important to know when to drop our ego. Drop our ego to God. Drop our ego to friendships around us. Drop our ego to our loved ones. Because if you do not drop your ego, you will be dropped from your connection to God. You will be dropped from the people around you. And that is not a life that you want to live. So, yeah, guys, I love you all. Any questions, anything at all, feel free to leave comments. Any topics of ideas of videos that you would like to speak on or hear about, drop it below. If any of you want personalized coaching one-on-one, just to speak to me, and just to speak to me or work with me, feel free to leave me a message here or on my Instagram at _Gabriel Hoggard. Take care, guys. Much love. Deuce.